thank you for joining us, and this is a top 5 video, Ladies Travel Top 5, and this time we're talking about the top 5 mistakes people make on vacation. And we've got Kathy with us, and Aaron, and I'm Philip. So I'm going to lead off if y'all don't mind.
Absolutely.
Number 5 on my list is, and this is going to be specific for things like an ocean cruise, a river cruise, or an escorted tour, or even independent travel, for you to arrive on the first day of the trip. And what I mean by that is, it's a mistake to arrive the day that the ship leaves, or the day that the river cruise leaves, or the day that the tour leaves, just for so many reasons. The obvious one is something goes wrong with the airline and you're delayed, you have trouble catching up with that ship. Number 2 is, if you go in a day early, you get to experience the destination. Usually these trips are starting at a pretty cool place. You get to experience it better. You get well rested. Kind of fun when you're like on the first day of a cruise to get on there and you kind of spot the people who flew in that day, because they're the ones that look all haggard and a mess and have pretty much wasted their first day. So get in a day early or 2 days early, get rested, good breakfast that morning, lounge around. Then when you start the cruise, start the tour, you're rested and ready to go. That's my number 5. How about you, Kathy?
My number 5 is, and I'm not talking about a cruise here, but I'm talking about a land vacation, is scheduling too early of a flight in on your first day and too late of a flight out on your last day. What people try and do, especially when they don't get to take very many vacations or whatever, is, I want a 6 a.m. flight down to Cancun for that resort because I'm gonna be at the resort before lunchtime. And then on their last day, they're like, that 6 p.m. flight out, that'll be great. So what happens is, to make a 6 a.m. flight, you got to check in at 4 a.m. That puts you waking up at 2 a.m. and you're exhausted and you hate your family by the time you get there. And your room isn't ready till 3 or 4 p.m. And so you're sitting there in your clothes, your jeans or whatever that you wore from Dallas or wherever, and you're burning up and all you want to do is take a nap and you don't have a room and it's just miserable. Same thing on the return. You have to check out of your room at noon. Your transfer is not going to pick you up until 3 hours prior, so now you're homeless for another 3 hours, especially if you have little kids. Remember when we went to Crown Paradise that time? Having to hang out in the lobby and lasso a 2-year-old? Good heavens to Betsy, that was awful.
That's a good one. That's a good point.
For me, my number 5, we're starting with 5, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so my number 5 is a lot of people aren't familiar with their phone plan and their international data. So a lot of times people come home from their vacation thinking, I just had this great vacation, so wonderful, and bam, $500 phone bill or more.
So true.
That's right.
So I think it's very important to call your cell carrier because everybody's different. Every plan is different. A lot of people just turn off their data roaming and don't use their phone while on destination, which is fine. But a lot of companies will offer like a month international plan. So anyway, don't, be aware of what your plans are and don't come home to a $500
And going into airplane mode is like the safest.
Yes.
Go to airplane mode and only use the Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
That's one thing.
Yep.
But yes, you totally check with yourself.
But in some cases you can't do that. I mean, you have to have a phone connection, right?
Right, exactly. Like we would never do that.
Yeah,
People
right.
need to be able to call us.
So
but
your number 5 should have been on my list and it wasn't. But you're right. That is a huge mistake. And we've had some of our own agents make that mistake, haven't we? We've had people make that mistake.
Yeah.
Kathy, number 4.
My number 4 is taking valuables.
Okay.
I can't tell you the number of times that, I lost this $10,000 pair of earrings or whatever. What were you doing traveling with a $10,000 pair of earrings? Leave them at home. Get some costume, whatever, at Target. Don't travel with valuables that you would be heartbroken if you lost.
That's a good one. And that happens. I mean, it's amazing how often it happens.
You bet. So my number 4 kind of goes along with that. People taking valuables that they want to take, whether it be a wedding ring or whatever, but they don't put it in the safe. So many people will bring loads of cash, which 99% of the time is not necessary. They'll bring really expensive jewelry or their phones or laptops or whatever. It's not bad to travel with phones or laptops, but again, if you're leaving your room, don't just leave stuff out. Put it in the safe. So.
Yep.
Very true.
My number 4 is somewhat like Kathy's number 5, but just in general, people on vacation sometimes try to do too much. And that can be whether actually on the vacation, having it planned out and saying, today we're going to do da, 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 da. And it can make it miserable. Some of the best times you'll have is just things that happen. Hanging out in a cafe in Paris that went on the schedule, found a cool place, you sat there for a couple of hours, talked, and had a great time. That's not on the schedule. So you want to leave yourself margin in the actual trip. Also, as far as doing too much, it can be the planning of the trip. We've had people come to us and say, okay, I'm going to be 7 days in Europe. I want to do Stockholm, let's do Lucerne, let's do Brussels, let's do Rome, and it's like, dude, whoa, pick a couple of cities. Don't try and do everything. All you're going to be is in a train or an airplane the whole time for a week. So don't try and do too much. Do more quality rather than quantity of places, and leave time to relax. Aaron, number 3.
My number 3, is this number 3 or number 2?
Number 3.
Okay, number 3. Here we go. Checking things in your luggage. So a lot of people, let's say someone decides to get on that 6 a.m. whatever flight. They get to the hotel and they're fine without a room, but they put their bathing suit in their checked luggage. And let's say their luggage got delayed and they're not going to get it till 4 p.m. Then they are going to be stuck in their jeans and everything else, and they're not going to be able to enjoy the beach. Some people check cash in their luggage. Again, if you're going to bring things that are really valuable, like jewelry or cash, have them on your person, at all
Medications,
times.
too.
Medication's a big one.
That was my next one. So again, just be aware of what you're checking in your luggage. What goes in your luggage, even though this is horrible to think about, just it's worst case scenario, be able to lose it. So things that are in your checked luggage, allow yourself to think, okay, if worst case scenario my bag is lost, I can buy this in destination. Everything else, bring in a carry-on or your purse or whatever.
So true. Yeah. So true.
I agree. My number 3 is going to be, specifically when we're doing like Europe, Asia, that type of stuff. Don't Americanize your vacation too much. I mean, if you're going to go over to Europe, no point staying at the Marriott, eating at McDonald's and TGI Fridays, drinking Budweiser. If you're going to be there, there are fantastic hotels that are international.
Now, I will say that I have a fascination of stopping in a McDonald's
Right?
everywhere.
Because they kind of are a little different.
So different.
And I will contend that's really weird.
Maybe so, but it's still true.
But stay at the at a brand, for the country where you're staying. They're beautiful, wonderful hotels. Same thing as far as the restaurants. Go try the local cuisine. Sometimes I hate it when I hear people talk about, oh, I went to such a place and no big deal, and they stayed at the American chain. They ate American food. Go out there, experience. Don't Americanize the vacation. Enjoy the culture.
Number 2?
Yep.
Or I guess I'm number 3.
Number 3.
Okay. So I have done welcome home calls for people from all kinds of trips for close to 30 years now. And so far, never one time has anybody ever said, I didn't pack enough. So my number 3 tip of mistakes is people packing too much. You're going to need less than you probably think you will. And one tip that I have for that is the further in advance, at least for me, you start packing, the more you're able to pare down. It's when I pack at the last minute that I'm just throwing in everything because I don't have time to think through what I really need. So start your packing in advance so that you can really give some thought to what you actually need.
And my number 2, which is my turn to go first, number 2, is overpacking. And so, I agree with everything. It's something that a lot of these cruise ships, these resorts, that stuff, they have abilities to wash the clothes. Now, it's going to be more expensive than doing it, in the States, but, this is vacation. Let them do it. It'd be miserable lugging that luggage around and stuff, so try and pare it down as much as possible. So I did the exact same thing you did. What's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 is, it was one of your prior ones, packing your schedule too full. Whether it's the number of destinations you're seeing during the trip or the number of activities during the day. You mentioned on a previous video our trip to Disney when our daughter, who is now 22, was 3.
Huh.
And it was sick. I had laminated cards with schedules. It was horrible. I am that person. And it was like the 2nd or 3rd day, and we were there at the Magic Kingdom, and we had breakfast reservations in the castle, and they opened the gates, and we're running to make it to her, and I hear the sound, and I'm like, what is that? And I go, and Ruthie is screaming, I want to go home. I want to go home. I took those laminated things out of my pocket. I threw them in the trash. I'm like, okay, what do you want to do now? That was the rule for the rest of the time. No more schedule. So anyway, don't pack your schedule too full.
Agree completely.
Yep.
Number two.
Yes. So my number 2 is missed flights. So a lot of times people will get super excited about their vacations, and you know, they've got their itinerary printed out, they've got their passports in their pocket, and everyone kind of looks at each other and when was our flight again? And they just don't, they're not familiar with their flight schedule, or they think, you know what, I really don't want to get to the airport 2 to 3 hours early, so I'm going to leave my house 2 hours early because I'm really only like 30 minutes away. And it's just, it always ends badly every single time. So I strongly suggest, even though it sounds a little crazy, aim to get to the airport 3 hours prior, because let's say something, let's say something does happen. There's a wreck, there's construction on the way to the airport, whatever it is, you run out of gas, you have a flat tire. Aiming to get to the airport 3 hours early allows you a little bit of wiggle room. And anyway, so just, I know it's early,
it's so
but
true.
do
No
it.
one's trip was ever ruined by arriving at the airport too early. And depending on what time of day, you can sit and have a mimosa, you can sit and have a glass of wine.
Yes.
And well, the other day I flew to Chicago, and there was what happened in security? No, it was when I was flying home. Anyway, and I was randomly chosen. They had to do the thing where you swab the bags and all that. And they have rules about where people can be and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, there wasn't anybody available to do it. So I was standing there and standing there and standing there. And the guy just kept apologizing. I'm like, I'm sorry it's taking so long. I'm like, oh, it's fine. And it did longer. And he's like, man, mostly people are so grumpy. And I'm like, I'm really early. It's no problem.
Yeah.
I am due to miss a flight because I tend to, but I know it's not smart. And we have had clients who have had really, really bad problems when they miss the flight. And I mean, it's just getting the vacation off to a horrible start. They're probably going to lose a day or two of your trip. It's a mess.
And money, because the hotel's not going to give you your money back.
Yeah.
And the airline isn't going to be very sympathetic.
No. And I do have to hand it to you, though. When I'm traveling with you, you do bend to when I want to leave and stuff.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Absolutely. But I am due to miss one.
But not when he's traveling.
Number 1.
All right. My number 1 is expecting perfection. You've planned your trip, you've chosen as best you could, you've worked with a professional travel agent to give yourself the best chance of everything going smoothly. But guess what? We live in an imperfect world, and sometimes things don't go well. Sometimes you're going to misconnect on your flight because of a mechanical delay. Sometimes you're not going to get your bedding request. Sometimes your seat assignments aren't going to be perfect. And that's just part of it. And it's I just had some people in Australia, and it's 2 couples, and the lady got really sick, and so that that's not great. The other lady of these 2 couples, they took a train trip, and apparently she's a little afraid of heights and claustrophobic, and didn't realize that this particular excursion was going to kind of hit on both of those things. But I tell you what, 15 years from now, when they're talking about this trip, they're going to be talking about that train trip. So just go with the flow as much as possible, because like for instance, when you're having a plane delay or whatever, you can sit there and just completely lose your mind at the ticket agent, but guess what? It doesn't change a thing. Your flight's still delayed. So just go with the flow.
That's a good one.
I agree.
My number 1 is passports.
Yeah.
I think it's just because I hear it a lot. But many times the morning of a trip, I'll get a call and someone will say, oh, so-and-so's calling for you. And I have that brief moment of hesitation thinking, they're supposed to be checking in for their flight. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And the person just didn't pay attention and their passport is expired. It happens so often. And we try to remind people as much as we can. It's on their invoices. We tell them, when we're on the phone with them, check your passport, check your passport.
Plus, it's common sense. Hello.
Yes. But definitely don't just check to make sure the names match and everything. Make sure it doesn't expire really within 6 months of you traveling. So.
Yeah, that is the thing, because some countries require that it be
valid for 6 months after your travel. So,
yeah. So always check that.
Yes.
Okay, I cheated, I think, because my number 1 kind of has 3 prongs to it. But anyway, I'm calling it mismanaging money. And so there are 3 things about this. Number 1, you want to have enough resources when you're there, and you probably be spending more than you expect. My number 2 was to not overpack. And I think it's a common saying. My dad used to always say it. Take half as many clothes and twice as much money when you go on vacation. But really do try and keep in mind that you are probably going to need a little more money than you think. Money-wise, it's also a mistake to go cheap on certain things. Talk to your agent and say we can save money here, not here. But you really do need to get a good feel for, in this particular location, we need to pay more for a nicer hotel. It's going to be really important. So don't make the mistake of saving so much money that you ruin your vacation. The other thing is have a plan going in as far as what you are going to spend and prepare for it, but budget for it. We do this for a living, and I remember going on a cruise, and we got back, and the credit card bill came in, and I was not being funny. I went to my wife and said, "Well, you paid for the final payment, 2 months ago, and here's the final payment again." And she goes, "No, that's what we spent on board the ship." Be very careful what you're spending, because as great as a vacation is, it can really ruin it, or certainly lessen it when you come back to all these bills that you weren't expecting. So have a good plan going in, keep track of it while you're there. That's it.
Talking about being cheap on the wrong things. One time several years ago,
oh yeah,
I was traveling on a trip to Europe with my niece as a graduation present. And I was trying to cut it a little close, because what I was trying to show her was that it's possible to do really cool things and you don't have to be rich. So yeah, we did several cities, and then the last city was London. And I had an upper respiratory infection by this time. I was not feeling very good. And we got to this place, and we went to check in, and they handed us our sheets. And we walked up the stairs and went in the room, and I looked at her, I'm like, I can't do this. And we walked back down, we got a taxi. I opened up the guidebook I had with me. I picked a place. I said, take us there. I didn't get the money back on the original room. Paid, twice or three times as much for the other room. I was so glad to have it. But yeah, you economize, but don't cut it too close to the bone. Yep.
Guidebook, that was a while back, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. You didn't just look on your phone.
So those are mistakes to avoid, and we hope you find this helpful. And thank you for joining us.